Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's the Level 1 podcast, and this is my final consecutive streaming day of the week after an interesting week, basically trying to get as far in my ongoing playthroughs as I can, right? Before new releases hit starting this Friday, which is obviously a very good thing. Today is Wednesday, the 13th of March, 2024. I hope that you're all doing well and ready for a chill day. Today's definitely going to be a chill day because, number one, there's not much to talk about on this show. Um, all week, pretty much every single day, we've had major gaming news, but not today. So because of that, we're just gonna basically do our usual, recap schedule segments, and then if you guys so choose, we can do suggestion box, which you guys have actually been asking for a bit here. You've been saying, when are we gonna go back to the suggestions box and review what people suggested? And hey, we could do it today if you so choose. Today is also a full day of RPGs, meaning Baldur's Gate 3 on the first stream and More Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth on the late stream. And the good news is we're making big progress in both games. With Baldur's Gate 3, we are wrapping up quest lines that have kind of been going on throughout the entirety of the game. For example, we're in the middle of this Hag quest line that started way back in Act 1, and now it's actually continuing on and wrapping up all the way here in Act 3. So it's good to finally have those resolutions, and I think we'll continue on doing quests like that, trying to wrap up things that have been, ongoing through the game. We actually have several quests to do for various companions that we can finish up. Then, tonight on Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, of course, we've got the story going into overdrive. Like, after several streams of lingering in Chapter 8, which is back in Japan with Kiryu and a new party of people who you recruit, now we're going in, like, back and forth pinballing between Japan and Hawaii with the story, and the story is going, like, super fast. We already beat Chapter 8, then we got almost all the way through Chapter 9. It's like, whoa. So it looks like we'll be making some big progress in that game, too. And, of course, this is all good because Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon are the two games that I'm looking to try to finish as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of this month, at least one of them, if not both, because then we can fully focus on all new games coming out, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth can be our one RPG that we focus on. Okay? So, good stuff going on here. So it's going to be a more relaxing day, right? No stressful gameplay, no freaking out, no crazy game news to go over. So a little bit more relaxed and laid back, which is always a good thing. I hope that you guys are ready to chill with me today here on the show. Although, I don't know how long we'll be able to chill for too long. And the reason I say that is because we just got word here in Washington State, we're going to have a heat wave this weekend. It's March. It's freaking March. And we're about to have 70 plus degree weather this weekend. When it's 70 degrees outside, it's about 85 to 90 degrees in this office. So, yeah, I'm probably going to be sweating it out. I mean, I've been wearing long sleeve shirts and stuff like this since the fall. I'm likely going to be wearing short sleeve shirts this weekend. I have to. I'm going to be sweating. So, anyway, I just can't wait for that, man. Anyway, no AC yet because it's March. It's freaking March. It wouldn't make sense to put the air conditioner in this early, We put it in later. We'll probably put it in like late April, May, if possible. Not going to be trying to put it in early, especially when, some nights are so cold we still have the heat on, right? Anyway, so I think what we should do is just kind of briefly recap where we're at with everything. As I just stated, Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon playthroughs are in a very similar situation. Baldur's Gate 3, we're much closer to the end, I would say. But Like a Dragon, we're actually advancing really fast after last night's stream. And the goal here is to try to play these games enough so that we can beat them hopefully by either the end of March or like really early April. Because as much as I like the games, as much as I like chilling and engaging and enjoying them with you, they're basically outstaying their welcome. Baldur's Gate, we've been playing over 3 months. Over 110 hours in. It's still not done. Like a Dragon, not as much of overstaying the welcome. It's definitely a faster-paced game when you're focusing just on the story, but it has a ton of side content. It's got optional dungeons. It's got Sujimon training. It's got all this, and the question is, do I really want to do all of that? Like, people have actually brought up the fact they're like, literally at this point, you don't even need to do the Sujimon at all. Sujimon, just for those who don't know, it's their take on Pokemon. They're trying to do like a spin-off game of Pokemon, much like the Dondoko Island is kind of a spin-off of Animal Crossing. It's in there for side content, but literally people are saying the only reason you really need to do it is because it unlocks a new job class. It's the best job class in the game, but at the same time, it's not necessary. And I'm having no problems with the combat of the game. I'm enjoying the job classes I have and everything, so I don't really need it. So it seems like, you know, these games are full speed ahead, doing great progress, right? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'll be honest with you guys, I like it, but it's definitely kind of floundering. And what I mean by that is, number one, we're only like 20 hours in, and we're already seeing shortcomings of the game. For example, the second open world area, when we started to do it, we realized it's almost exactly the same as the first. In fact, it is. It's the same kind of fights, the same kind of exploration, the only difference is that it has a Fort Condor minigame. Everything else is the same as the first open area. So if the whole game's like that, that essentially means that the story elements will probably be really good. And every time we get to an open world area, it's like, oh, it's the samey. It's too samey, right? So I'm curious how that's going to pan out. And people are saying, much like the other RPGs I'm playing, Final Fantasy VII, if you do it in its entirety, is like 100 hours. And it's like, boy, they really, this year, game devs, I hate to say it, maybe not game devs in general, but the publishers and whoever's in charge of these studios, they really dropped the ball. You cannot release this many insanely lengthy, similar style games and expect that in a 3-month period, they're all going to do well. If you're a massive fan of RPGs, you're like, oh, I'm eating a gourmet meal, but you can only eat so much before you gorged yourself and you're full. And that's what's happened. If these games had been spanned out over the course of the year, like imagine if Like a Dragon was January, okay? Persona 3 Reload was like early March. And then Final Fantasy was May. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like every few months, another one, all the way through the year. Now you have a month to 2 months to play each one, tackle it, and it would have made sense. By dropping all of them within 3 to 4 months, you've front-loaded the year with RPGs, and now what will happen is everyone will want RPGs late in the year, and there will be none. Right? It's really sad. Anyway, I really do feel like, sadly, that's what's happened. It's just such an overload of similar games that attention wanes, and that's, you know, who's going to pay attention to a 100-hour playthrough unless you're playing it yourself, right? So definitely, I feel like this is the situation. You know, some people have actually been saying in the chat recently, are you aware that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth actually has lower sales than Final Fantasy 16 did last year in the same time frame? And you got to think about, well, why would that be, right? Is there a reason? Well, number one, I think Final Fantasy 16 had an insane amount of hype behind it because it's a numbered Final Fantasy, right? Whenever there's a new numbered iteration, you're so excited to see what they've done, what the new elements are, and a lot of people just on the name alone will pre-order and buy that game. In the case of Rebirth, this is the second in a trilogy of games. It's a continuation. So, yeah, people who liked the first one should jump on it, but we just had Final Fantasy 16 not a year ago, and RPG overload. This is actually what I've been telling you guys, is that there's too many of the same kind of game in a sort of short period of time. If Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, the Grand Blue Fantasy game, and I think there was even another one too, if those 4 games hadn't released within the month before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, how much you want to bet the sales would have been higher? I'm just saying, this is what happens. But when you develop games and you live in a bubble and you don't pay attention to your environment around you and you just think, well, my shit doesn't stink, my game's the best out there, so people are just going to buy it, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Again, this would have been the equivalent of if Street Fighter 6 comes out and a month later Tekken 8 came out. Well, what did you think would happen? They're going to cannibalize each other. It doesn't matter how good each is, it's the same market, you know? Anyway, the point I've been making for the last several months is valid. The good news is, since we are making a push for progress in all of these games, they're going to be done sooner rather than later. And we've got brand new games coming up starting Friday. In fact, this morning, I purchased the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection on PlayStation 5. It actually was sold for a discount because I'm a PlayStation Plus subscriber, $31.50. I think that's like $3.50 off or something, because I think the full price is $34.99. So it's not a huge discount, but hey, it's a discount. Yes, I'll be playing that starting Friday, and we already have been talking about this all week. I've decided I'm just going to play it all day Friday. We're going to ride it out and see how it goes. Just play it literally the entirety of the day and see if it does well. You know, I don't know how it's going to play. I don't know how it's going to go. Honestly, you know, we don't know much about it. Like, for example, is all of the gameplay in one game? Or when you boot this thing up, is it going to say, oh, do you want to boot Battlefront 1 or Battlefront 2? Right off the bat, that's a bad idea. Because if it does it that way and all the multiplayer is separated, you're going to have two different player bases playing the two versions, and no one's going to know which has the bigger player base or which is the better one. So already you're confusing gamers. This is the equivalent of with the recent Capcom collections, where it'll be like, oh, there's 5 versions of Street Fighter 2. Well, what version is anyone going to play? Right? Oh, there's 4 versions of Darkstalkers. What version are people going to try to play online? They're all going to be trying to do different versions and not jiving and not finding each other. So I really hope that the multiplayer's all put in together so it's easy to matchmake and find matches and things, but you don't know, right? But anyway, I got it on PS5. Why? Player base. We know that this game's likely going to sell way more on PS5 than Xbox just because there's more PS5s out there than Xboxes. It kind of sucks because I would have had surround sound if I had it on Xbox. I get true surround sound from my Xbox. I don't get that from PS5. It's kind of simulated. And that stinks because it really would have helped with a game like this. But I would much rather play against the bigger grouping of players and having no issues matchmaking and whatever than just have surround sound and sit around waiting for matches because no one's playing it, right? So that's where I got it. And yeah, I'm going to try it all day Friday. We're going to see how it goes. I hope it goes well. I hope that it's something refreshing and different and fun for you guys. It's way better than those remakes that they did. Not really remakes, but when they tried to redo the series in the 2010s, those didn't hold a candle to the original Battlefronts. The original Battlefronts were easy to jump in, jump out, have a ton of fun, swapping classes. It wasn't about, oh, you have to play and unlock a stat that artificially makes this better or worse, and you get a randomized loot pull that gives you something. That was all bullshit. This game is just fun from the get-go, and you don't need to fuck around with it to basically unlock good things. It's all in there from the start. But I am a little nervous because, number one, the graphics really haven't been overhauled, and number two, there's no crossplay. So with no better graphics and no crossplay, I'm very wondering how it's going to go. You know, is it going to be a good gameplay experience or not? I guess we're going to find out on Friday. So yeah, all day Friday, Battlefront Collection coming out, and that's something fresh and new, thankfully. A week from Friday is Rise of the Ronin, and I'm definitely going to be checking that out now that we got the initial information out there about what it is. An open world game experience similar to Elden Ring / Sekiro with cool combat elements and whatever. Sounds good to me. It sounds like something refreshing that we need. That way it's not samey around here with every game being an RPG. It's going to feel very different. So just between those two games, that's a lot of variety that's going to be coming up on the channel. And then, of course, if we decide to play other games like Alone in the Dark or something like that, that's also going to be variety. Now, you might say, well, what about Dragon's Dogma 2? Yeah, I want to play it. It was always on my schedule. But the fact that there's too many RPGs out right now, I can't play another one. I have to finish the games I'm playing before I take on other ones of the same genre. So maybe once we beat Baldur's Gate, maybe once we beat Like a Dragon, okay, and those are out of the rotation, then we can look to say, hey, focus more on Final Fantasy VII and maybe add another one. But I'm definitely not committing to anything like that until we get through the two that we're playing right now, okay? So there you go. But I would like to play Dragon's Dogma 2. I loved Dragon's Dogma 1. I thought it was an outstanding game back in the day, and you know, I was actually one of the people on the channel who loved it more than the viewership. Like, I remember playing it and loving it and grinding with it at night and stuff like that and putting out all this content on it, and people were like, it's not that good. I was like, what do you mean? I think it's great. I love the game, but the interest definitely, like, panned out over time while I kept playing the game because it was such a long RPG at the time. So, schedule-wise, it's very simple. Today, Baldur's Gate 3, and Like a Dragon. I'm off tomorrow. I hope you all have a safe and fun day. I'm back on Friday with Battlefront Classic Collection all day long. I can't wait to immerse myself in an awesome multiplayer experience with you guys for 5+ hours on Friday. Saturday, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Like a Dragon. Sunday, React Day. where it's DSP versus the internet on DSP Reacts and Retro React to Heavy Rain, which we're almost done with now on DSP Throwback. Monday, it'll be Baldur's Gate 3 and no late stream. Luckily, this will be the final day of the month where I don't stream at night because I'm going to wrap up my private Patreon videos and my other stuff behind the scenes that I've been working on. It should all be done by then, and then I can move forward with full double streams for the rest of the month. Okay? Probably Tuesday, more Final Fantasy VII and Like a Dragon, or Battlefront, we'll see. And then same thing, Wednesday, probably more Baldur's Gate 3 and either Like a Dragon or Battlefront at night. Okay? So hopefully in another week's time, we'll be way further into these games, and hopefully near the end of some, because when Rise of the Ronin comes out, that's going to be a featured stream, in which case we're going to have to cut back on other games. It's like, I'll tell you right now, the game that's going to suffer the most is Final Fantasy VII. It's going to basically be on the back burner for a bit until we wrap up the other games, and then it's going to become more featured and prominent. I just need to do that, because I can't be playing 7 games at once, you know what I mean? So something's got to kind of go on hold, and I'm going to do that. So, okay. My nose is bothering me. Hold on one second, everyone. I'm about to sneeze. Oh. Phew. Sorry about that. By the way, here's some good information. All right? Listen to this. Because the microphone now has filters on it, you guys likely will not hear the landscapers outside on these Wednesdays until they're like right outside. So for example, they were out there in the background, but you didn't hear them, right? Because remember, this microphone is going to be, muting all low sounds. So I very much bet you didn't hear it at all, right? That's an excellent improvement. You'll only hear it if they're like right out there. And when they're right out there, I got to close the window anyway because I can't hear myself think. So this is good. This is actually going to help the podcast a bit. Excellent. Okay. All right. That's really all I have to talk about when it comes to schedule and, the state of games and stuff. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's still coming and hanging out with me. I know these last 2 months have been rough. And what I mean by that is the fact that everything's an RPG, except for Tekken, right? Everything has been an RPG. The new games that came out that were supposed to fill in the gaps so everything wouldn't be an RPG, they sucked, so I didn't play them. I didn't play Suicide Squad, right? Pal World only worked out for like a couple weeks and then it got boring, So all these games that were supposed to be in between filler, I ended up skipping because they weren't interesting. And then of course the one game that comes out that would have been different, Helldivers 2, is an online co-op shooter, and I don't do co-op shooter games. So it's like, everything kind of just came together in an annoying way that I was just kept playing the same style of game over and over, and now that I'm done with Tekken 8, so we have time for like Battlefront and other stuff, obviously, we're going to have a little bit more variety. I'm happy about that. And I want to say thanks to those who hung in there. I know for many, you guys have been away. It's just funny because like I've been telling you guys, no exaggeration, on the podcast, I'm getting more attendance and engagement and support than when I boot up the RPGs. I actually am. The podcast is getting sometimes double the viewership of when I'm streaming an RPG. It's like, wow. Now listen, I love RPGs. I really, really do. I'm sad that my audience doesn't like them as much as me, because if my audience loved RPGs as much as I did, I've actually probably be going crazy good right now. But the sad fact is, my audience is the opposite in that regard. They're not that into RPGs, and they never have been. The exception would be like if I'm playing like a Bethesda game like Skyrim or something like that. But outside of that, I understand that you guys aren't that much into the RPG deal. And so I need to try to get other stuff going on. And now we're finally doing that. Okay. But thank you to those who did chill with me over the last 2 months. Finally, that's all changing starting this Friday, that we're doing something different. And thanks for your patience. Okay. Okay. Today, please support the streams if you can, being that it is my final streaming day of the week. Admittedly, certain streams always do well and others don't. Like, for example, Baldur's Gate 3 has been doing good every single stream. We always have a good amount of engagement and support. And then I play Like a Dragon, it's the complete opposite. It's like the deadest streams that I've ever had in my history of streaming. So, it would be great to have some support today in any form, whether it's on the podcast, on the Baldur's Gate stream, on the Like a Dragon stream. I know there's audiences for all the games. It's just weird the way that it works like that, you know? Okay. So guess what? The only news I have for today, all right? The only news is that PlayStation released their PlayStation Plus lineup for the month. And I figured, why not just cover that briefly? Here. We'll pretend like this is a news segment when really it's not. So, if you are part of standard PS Plus, you get nothing. Actually, I don't know. What I have is, if you're part of PS Plus Extra, so this is the middle tier of PS Plus, which I don't know who would get it, but apparently it's a little bit more expensive than the standard PS Plus subscription. You've got NBA 2K24 Kobe Bryant Edition, Marvel's Midnight Suns, Resident Evil 3, Lego DC Supervillains, Mystic Pillars Remastered, Blood Bowl 3, Super Neptunia RPG, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot PS5 Edition. So what's funny about that is I would say out of all those games, not that they're bad games, but the only game there that's new-ish is NBA 2K, right? Like those other games, Midnight Suns is like almost 2 years old, and it flopped, by the way. It didn't do well at all. Resident Evil 3, you mean from like many years ago, the remake that actually people didn't like as much as 2. Okay. I'm sure we're all, you know, very excited for Lego DC Supervillains. We totally wouldn't have bought that for $5 at the discount store at this point, right? So it's funny because this is what they're offering as like the premium membership. It's like, what is this? Like, who would want these? Who hasn't played them and would want them today in 2024? Here's the PS Plus Premium Classics, meaning if you have the premium level, the most expensive level of PS Plus subscription, here's what you get. Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier. I don't even know what Jak and Daxter game that is. I guess it's one of the later ones. Cool Borders, God's Eater Burst, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R. Again, I just hate to say it, this PS Plus premium memberships just don't have value. You know, they thought, oh, let's do this to compete with Game Pass. Then they claimed they weren't because it was so far inferior. And now it's like they don't even try. Like, those are all games, again, it's fine if you have the subscription. And you just, oh, pleasant surprises, a few games there maybe I never played. But it's like, but who's going to pay to specifically get those games? I can't think of a single person. Most of those games are already on extreme discount everywhere. They're not games that have much value, right? I said maybe the NBA game because that's the latest NBA 2K game. But outside of that, there's just nothing there. So I don't even know, honestly, I don't even know why Sony launched the service at this point. Because now we're almost 2 years into it. And they sure haven't found any kind of value to the service. It's very confusing. Anyway, okay, ladies and gents, we're going to do shout-outs in a bit, but before we get to shout-outs, I think we should do some suggestion box because we actually have ample time to do it today. All right? Sound good? So let's do it. Let's jump in. The suggestion box. For those who don't know, you can add a suggestion to the suggestion box right now by typing !suggestion into the stream chat. It's also just a community post that was from like a month ago on the channel, and you can find it. But if you use the link in the stream chat, that's how you'll get to it. So we're going to pick up where we left off last time we did a suggestion box. This one's actually from someone who I guess I accidentally banned them last night on the Like a Dragon stream, Tubs. And I unbanned them now, just so you know, Tubs. I don't know if you're around today or not, because they were here last night, and they said something that they definitely shouldn't have said. All right? It wasn't offensive, but it was referencing to, you know, a detractor thing. And I was like, dude, if you say that, you're going to bring attention to it. So, you know, I basically timed him out and banned him. And then he emailed me. He's like, no, that was the real me. Sorry I did that. So I unbanned him. Anyway, here's it. Oh, all right. Landscapers are outside. I actually have to close the window now, guys, because they're getting really loud for me. Yeah, they're literally right outside the window now. So like, I gotta close it now so I can pay attention here, so I can focus on what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we go. Ready? Um, okay, so Tub says the following. Now, keep in mind, this was about, I want to say this was about a month ago when we opened the suggestion box again. So some of this might be a little outdated, some might not. We'll have to see. He says, please lower the amount of ads. I definitely think you should be running ads, but I'll listen to the podcast for an hour and I get 6 ads in that period of time. I'm getting to a point where I just watch on demand because of excessive ads and certain chatters trying to get your attention. Now, to address this, first of all, I can't actually see the frequency of ads, and that's a problem. I wish I could. YouTube keeps changing the process, and this is YouTube's fault, and I apologize for it because I want to be in control of my streams, and I can't be. So, for example, what used to happen is every time YouTube would run an ad, there would actually be a pop-up in the bottom left-hand corner of my stream dashboard, and it would say an ad is about to run, click here to skip. And there used to be significant amounts of times I would see that, and I would say, oh, I'm going to skip that ad because I'm in the middle of something important on my podcast, or there's a cutscene, an important one going on in the game. And it only happens like half the time now. And I don't understand if that's a change that was intended or not, if they screwed it up, because it was gone for like a month. Then it came back. Now I'm seeing it sporadically. Like literally this entire morning on the podcast, I haven't seen a single thing that said stop an ad from playing. Yeah, I know you guys probably have seen ads, right? Can you guys confirm? Hold on, let's confirm. Have you guys seen ads on the stream today at all? Or have you not seen any ads? Maybe that's what it is. No ads, and then I don't see the pop-up. Have you guys seen any ads running on the stream? I gotta wait for an answer. Hold on. Yes. Okay, people are saying, yes, we've seen ads. Okay, so from my understanding, all right, how it's supposed to work, okay, is that at most, you're only supposed to get an ad every 15 minutes. At most. YouTube is not supposed to hit you with more than one ad per 15 minutes, okay? So if you're actually seeing more than that, YouTube, I think, is screwing up. And I have had a few people in the last month noticing this. So I don't really know what's going on with it. Now, what people are actually saying to me is it seems to differ depending on where you are in the world. Because remember, different regions get different ads, but also what version of YouTube you're using. Because some people are saying it's a different experience if you're watching on your desktop or PC versus if you're watching on an app like on a TV versus if you're using your phone. That all three are delivering different experiences. And some people, I guess someone just said it in the chat earlier, it seems like the mobile version for your phone is the worst, where for some reason you guys are getting way more ads, but then like on desktop, it's totally fine. Like Nico just said, it's fine for me. I've gotten like one ad so far the whole stream. And you know, the stream's been going now for what, 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so? That would make sense. Probably there's another ad coming up for you then. If it's every 15 minutes, right? Then you should be getting another ad in about 10 minutes, right? So I guess the question is, what is really going on with YouTube? Okay, because I really don't know. I wish I could control it. Like I said, if I saw excessive ads popping up, I would literally click and cancel them. And now that feature is removed. So I don't know. I can't even tell when you guys are seeing an ad at this point. It just seems to be like a necessary evil now that YouTube is screwing this stuff up and I have to deal with it and you have to watch them. Here's the thing. Number one, I never ran those ads ever for years, correct? And then you guys said, no, we want to help support you, especially with these issues going on. Please run ads. So I started running them. You know what I'm saying? And now you guys are saying, well, there's too many ads. Well, it's like, well, I could turn it off, but then it's going to hurt the channel. Already I'm hurting. You have to understand something. I'm hurting bad right now. I don't talk about it that often, but because those gifted memberships screwed the whole channel up, I haven't gotten them back. So we're talking, I lost a ton of revenue that I'm not regaining. And the fact that right now we're in RPG stagnation mode is just making things worse. You know, it would be great if I could see a resurgence with Battlefront, with Rise of the Ronin, and maybe with another game by the end of the month. But there's no guarantees that's going to happen. If I stay at the level I'm at right now, I'm already bleeding and in pain. And it's like, well, now you guys are annoyed by ads. So now just punch the wound some more. It ain't going to make things better. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to make things even worse. So I understand what you're saying, Tubs. I wish I could control it. Trust me, if I could, manually stop certain ads, I would, but it seems like that doesn't even work properly anymore. How is it that today I don't see the pop up at all, and yesterday I was seeing it? I don't get it. YouTube is all screwed up. All right. So it is what it is. Now, I could turn ads like way lower, but what I saw, if you go to the low, because there's 3 versions, if you go to the low ads, it only plays an ad at most like once every half an hour. But when I was doing that, I literally saw nothing. Nothing. Seriously. So I don't even, I don't even know if that's worth it. If if there's 0 ads, it's going to hurt the channel. You know what I mean? What I would recommend, again, I got to recommend this. Consider getting YouTube Premium. It is a great service. You don't ever see an ad on YouTube. Everyone who runs ads gets the credit as if you watch the ad. There's tons of benefits to it. All right. We were just talking about it yesterday. YouTube Music is an app. You get all this music if you're a YouTube Premium subscriber. It's part of the package. I would definitely recommend that. Okay, so here's the thing. Tubs, thank you for the feedback. I don't want my user experience being hindered by tons of ads. At this point, I don't really know how to fix it besides just turning off the ads. But if I did that, I'm going to need more support. And as you know, I already asked for it. I don't think that sitting here asking for more support all day because I turned off the ads is really going to be a beneficial thing. So it's kind of a necessary evil right now. If YouTube fixes the problem so I can disable certain ads when they happen, when they're badly timed, I will do that. But they've disabled that, and I don't know why. Okay? Okay. Continuing on, he says, you should start trying to take an extra stream off a week for your own well-being, even if it's just twice a month during a slow period. I really think you should use extra free time. Number one, I am doing that this month, but I'm not doing it for a good reason. I'm doing it because I have to do private patron videos and work on taxes and other business stuff. I wish I could take off an extra day. Don't you think I would like to do that? I don't like being here 6 days a week full time and not spending time with my family. I have to be here to pay my bills. It's wishful thinking. Turn off ads and take more time off. Okay, Tubs, but where does the money come from then? Right? And you have to understand, I don't work a salary job. A day that I don't work is a day that I don't make money to pay the bills. So that's why I have to be here as much as I am. Maybe that'll change in the future, but it's not changing anytime soon. Things are sadly going this way now this year. I was doing good by the end of last year. Things were actually going well. I was doing good on YouTube, great member support and everything. And then, number one, the fake memberships completely screwed the channel over. I went from having 500 to 800 legit members. Now we're down to like 200-300 a month. And all that revenue is lost. And there's nothing I can do about it. Okay? And then in addition to that, now RPG stagnation. So it's a thing on top of a thing, and it's really hurting me bad, and I'm bleeding. And I need to get through this time before we could consider scaling back on things that are helping the channel to make money. Okay? Okay. Okay, our next post here is actually from OP Boone, and OP Boone, as you know, usually has some really good suggestions, many of which I've already implemented. Okay? So, here we go. Ready? So he says, the idea of a podcast cold open intro is good, but I feel a 30-second you're ready for the stream intro lowers the effectiveness when you do it. It'd be better to cut that intro from the recorded YouTube videos so you can still use it for the stream audience. Just start the recording after the guitar riff intro is done and the video opens with your cold open, immediately introducing the viewer to the topics coming up on the show. So, for clarification purposes, what OP Boone is referencing is the beginning of this show, where the first thing I do is I play that clip that says, are you ready for the stream? And it plays a guitar riff, right? Then that fades out, and then a version of my intro usually plays, but it depends on the day. For example, if it's a day where I have a lot of topics to talk about, I'll appear on camera first and say, hey, everyone, it's the Level 1 Podcast, and here's what we're talking about today. I'll be right back. And then we do a shorter version of the intro. That lasts way shorter. It's abridged. And then we get right to the show. That's the cold open version of the show. Now, if I have a day when I don't have a lot to talk about, I don't have like a real good cold open to do, I'll go straight from that guitar riff. It fades out. And then I go to a longer version of the intro. Okay, and that version basically is me dancing around with my old green screen footage and stuff like that. And so I alternate those depending on the day and depending on the subject matter that I have to talk about. All right. Now, to start, he says the you ready for the stream segment should be cut from the on-demand videos. Now, first of all, why do I even use that clip? It's very simple, because I have a stream running, and when that stream is about to start the podcast, I want people to know that guitar riff is the synonymous noise you guys all know. Oh, the show's starting. Let me get ready, right? Because remember, before then, there's just music running. So you're getting ready for the show to start. If you want to know exactly when it's starting, listen for that guitar riff. It's notable now. Everyone remembers it. Everyone recognizes it. They even put guitar emotes in the chat when it's going. So you know, oh, the show's starting. So let's say you're in another room, right? Or you're not paying attention. You just got it running in the background and you're wondering when the show's going to start. You'll know when you hear the guitar riff. That's why I have that. It's mostly for the stream viewers. Admittedly, it doesn't really do anything for the on-demand video viewers. So if you guys think that would be beneficial to not have that in the on-demand video, I could cut it out. In fact, guess what I did this morning? I cut it out because I actually scanned these suggestions early and I said, oh, that's one I could try implementing today. So for those of you watching this podcast on demand, please let me know. Leave a comment. Give me feedback. Do you like the guitar riff at the beginning of the show? Does it help at all? Or is it just worthless to you? I'm going to keep playing it on the stream, but I don't have to record it in the video. I could just record right with either the cold open or the intro. Okay? So there you go. Now, the second half that OP Boone says, he says, I'd also look into only using the shorter level 1 podcast intro instead of the full minute long one. The intro isn't much more than some text with various effects playing for an entire minute. It's more interesting if the intro is a minute of fun highlights from previous shows or something. You should consider the perspective of a viewer when looking for improvement. I started doing these timestamps for myself to see where interesting topics are on your podcast. Others seem to appreciate them. I admit I fully skip the intro and recap segments, but I'll tune into schedule segments for games and streams that I'm interested in. Then I'll see what else is going on with the timestamps and click to those for the day. So that was a lot of information to absorb. All right. The first thing he's basically saying is always use the shorter level 1 podcast intro. Fair enough. But as I just stated, I don't have a cold open every day. Today, I literally didn't have a cold open. Why? What are we doing today? What am I supposed to do? Come on camera and say, oh, it's a slow day, not much going on. We'll do suggestion box. See you in a sec. That's a crappy cold open, right? It's not like, oh, today we got tons of game news, big game updates, new releases to talk about. You know, when it's an exciting day and you do an exciting cold open, it starts the podcast with a good, vibrant feeling. But you can't really do that every day, right? So I don't think that that makes sense in that regard. But I understand what you're saying. You're saying, okay, don't ever use the longer intro. Well, I feel like if I'm not going to do a cold open, right, I think the longer intro is actually appropriate. And I do enjoy having the variety of intros. So that's not exactly the same every day. Because honestly, when something is exactly the same every day, it feels too samey, too uniform, and kind of gets boring, right? I like the fact that every morning you don't know if you're going to get a cold open with a bunch of stuff and a shorter intro, or you're just going to get the longer intro with me dancing around. I think it's nice. Now, if people disagree, let me know, but that's why I do it that way, okay? So I think the feedback to remove the guitar riff from the on-demand video makes sense. The feedback to say just use the shorter intro and always do a cold open, I don't think that works because I don't always have a cold open. If I did, then it would make sense, but I don't think that really works because, sadly, I don't always have a good cold open for the show. Now, your suggestion, it would be more interesting if your intro is a minute of fun highlights from previous shows. Sure. Sure, it would be. I agree with you. It would be great. But I can't do that because I don't have any video editing. I don't have time to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here all day doing the work, as you know. If anyone wanted to put together a montage of clips from this show or stuff like that as an intro, like a better intro, I'm down for using that. But again, you have to understand it's a kind of a community effort. You know, I would love to use a better intro. I don't have one. I use what I have, right? So if anyone ever likes the show and wants, hey, I'll do a quick montage of stuff for an intro for Phil's show or whatever, yeah, I'd be willing to use that, but I can't make it myself. So if anyone's interested, let me know. We'll talk about it. You can submit it. We'll test it out and stuff like that. Okay? Excuse me. So another suggestion from OP Boone here. We'll just go right to the next one. Actually, wait a minute. Let me check because I'm not checking on anything. I just want to be sure that I'm not missing out. Okay, we have a couple shout outs to do. So I'll keep time for that. We'll do like maybe 10, 15 more minutes of suggestion box, and then we'll go over to shout outs so that way I don't run out of time. Okay. Cool. Consider using OBS's built-in pause recording feature to give yourself or cat a break whenever needed without having to fully stop a recording. This can be found next to the stop recording button. Okay, I'm looking at it right now. Is that it? That must be it. Pause recording. Okay, this is something new. Once paused, the pause button turns blue, and the bottom of your OBS window will indicate that the recording has been paused. Once you come back from a quick break, you can press it again and resume as normal. On the recorded video, it will seem like a normal video cut. Jumping from when you pause to unpause? Really? No shit. So, for example, if I'm in the middle of a video, and I was like, I gotta get Jasper Kitty out of here, I'll be right back. I can click that and come back and unclick it, and it just skips the dead air. I didn't know that at all. Okay, I'm gonna use that. I mean, let me think. I guess I could use it if I have to use the bathroom or something, and I'm not splitting the part, I could use it. And I guess, yeah, there's a few instances I feel like I could use it. All right, I'm gonna try to use this. I had no clue that's what that was. There it is. It's right there. It's a little pause button thing. And that's cool that it just jump cuts basically in the recording. Then again, I've never tried it. Would you like to try it right now? I'm going to try it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Everyone watching on demand, you're the ones who are the test case for this. Everyone here live on the stream won't see it. But we're going to try this right now. Okay, ready? Watch this. You ready? This is going to be funny. All right. I'm going to test it right now. We're going to click this pause recording button. And when I come back, we'll see if it worked. Ready? And... okay, did it work? Did it work? Is it working? Did it work? So hopefully I didn't scare the crap out of those on demand. But I wanted to test it. So let's see, because now it's recording again, supposedly. So I cut out a few seconds there. If you're watching on demand, let me know how it worked. I'm curious. Hopefully it doesn't, like, fuck up and corrupt the video. Oh, God, that would really suck. So let's see what happens. And go from there. But if that works, that's cool. And I could use that for sure during streams and stuff. So let's see what happens. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. That is awesome. Thank you, OP Boone. That's an amazing suggestion that I can implement right away. And so just from those suggestions from Boone, the first suggestion, where can I cut out the guitar riff from the intro of the on-demand video? Yes, and I will try to remember to do that from now on. And can I use the different intros? Well, the reason I do the different intros is because I don't always have a cold open, and I feel like the show would be not as good if it just has the same intro every day. So therefore, that's why I use the two, and I think I'll continue to use the two. But that recording pause button is a great suggestion, and I'm going to start using that for sure. So thank you for that. Okay. So, let's go ahead. I got to find it now. There it is. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so let's read this next suggestion. And we can't do too many more, but let's do a few more here. So here we go. Here's my idea. Instead of having a 10 to 15 minute Q&A segment that extends the podcast. Now, for clarification purposes, I don't do that every day, right? I only do that on days when we have extra time at the end of the show, and I want to see if anyone has things on their mind to talk about before we go to the game, because that way we don't have those questions during the game. Right? It gives you an opportunity to ask me stuff before we get to the game, so we don't have burning questions that I go, oh, let's start playing the game. Oh, wait, here comes a ton of questions from the audience now because I'm interacting, right? But anyway, he says, try taking a 10-minute break after splitting the second gameplay part and talk with the viewers about what they're thinking of the game or stream. Okay? Now, OP Boone responded to this suggestion, and he said the following. I think this is an interesting idea. He did something similar when he was on Twitch. He would have only an hour or so pre-stream, because this is before it was a podcast. It was just me talking over slideshow. Then he would do a gameplay stream for about 2 hours, but then he would take a long break. Right, my breaks back then were like 30 plus minutes, remember? I would actually stream for like 2 hours, then leave for a half an hour, and then come back. And the consensus I got then was you killed your audience. You lost your audience in the 30 minutes. It was too much of a break. He since cut back on gameplay for the day stream. He does 3 hours, but he can still squeeze in a short intermission. Right, now what I do is I do an actual podcast, not just me talking over slides, but the podcast has segments. We cover game news, things I never used to do. So the podcast is longer. But since I've made the podcast a more dedicated part of my work with better visuals, better audio segments, I feel like I got a hair in my mouth. Because I did that, the podcast is more popular. The podcast now gets more views and support. Those pre-streams used to be dead. It was just me talking, and then when I finally got to the game, people were like, hallelujah. Now, this podcast actually has a following, right? There's people who just listen to the podcast, and they don't stick around for the game. It's kind of flipping on its head. So before, I usually did around 4 hours of gameplay per stream, but I also had a very lengthy break in between to break it up, so that way I wasn't sitting here for 5-6 hours straight. Now I don't do that anymore. Now I do this podcast. I usually take a 5 to 10 minute break if I have to use the bathroom, and then I jump into gameplay, and that's it. The gameplay is consistent. It's just all nonstop, no big breaks. So I phased out the idea of a big break because of your feedback. You guys were telling me that when I was doing those big breaks, it was killing the engagement and the attendance of the stream. People would just leave during the break and never come back. So the feedback was, don't do that. Do it more streamlined. So that's how I do it now. Okay? So what this person is suggesting is bring back the big break, and during that big break, talk about the game. Okay? I don't know how much that would work. I mean, it's interesting to maybe say that, but don't we talk about the game when I'm playing it? Like, it's not like when I'm playing the game, I'm just sitting here playing it, ignoring you guys, right? I'm talking with you guys the entire time that I'm playing the game, and we're having that conversation and interaction. Why do I need to have a formal break to talk about the game? That's a little confusing to me. Because, again, you have to understand my methodology of why I do the things the way I do. Okay, we have a podcast, and that podcast will cover certain topics, okay, including news, the schedule, things going on in my life, right? Phil's day off, stuff like that. It's all segments that are interesting to you guys. You like those segments, right? So after that's all done, at the end of the show, if we have time for Q&A, I purposefully open up the show. Why? So that you guys can talk with me about whatever topics you want before we start with the game. Because let me give you an example. Today we're playing Baldur's Gate 3. And as soon as we start, we're going to be going with the Hag quest line. We're going to track her down, fight her, and finish it up. Imagine if I didn't do any Q&A. So I do a podcast, and then immediately we start with Baldur's Gate 3. You want to know what would happen in the first half an hour of Baldur's Gate 3? Everyone would bombard me with questions. Hey, Phil, what's going on with this? Hey, Phil, what do you think about this? Hey, Phil, wait, I'm trying to play the game. Why are we doing Q&A? I'm trying to play the game, right? That's what happens if you don't have opportunity to have interaction with the streamer first. I've seen many streamers, this happens. They turn on their stream, and immediately they can't play the game. They've got to talk with their audience for 30 minutes before they can get to the game because everyone has topics on their mind. That's why I try to get that Q&A in at the end of the show, okay? Now, if I didn't do that Q&A segment, and we did it later, what's happening is, sadly, we're creating that break again in the middle of the gameplay that people told me directly they don't want. People outright said during the Twitch days, we don't want big breaks. Your breaks in between gameplay break it up to the point where people leave and don't come back. So stop doing breaks in the middle. And that's why I said, okay, we'll do the podcast. I'll take a short break, sometimes use the bathroom or whatever. That's my break. It makes sense to do it then because it's the break between the podcast and the gameplay. And then once I start with gameplay, I just do the constant gameplay, right? That's definitely the formula that works, okay? So that's why I do it that way. So what this person is basically saying is go back to the old way. And I'm like, I don't think that would work. You know, and what it is a lot of people who make these suggestions too don't realize that I've been there, done that, right? And that's what it is people that haven't been around long enough to say, oh, Phil used to take a big break like that and whatever. Yeah, I did. And it didn't work. People hated it. People wanted me to have everything segmented properly. Once I start with the game, I'm just going to be here playing the game for many hours. It's not, oh, Phil's here. He's going to take several breaks during the gameplay. It's going to be all broken up, right? That's literally what used to happen. It used to be I stream 2 hours, I would take a break, and I would go from like 500-600 viewers down to like 200, and people wouldn't come back. And then people would be like, man, those breaks are killing your streams. Okay. So anyway, unless someone has a counter to that, I definitely feel like essentially the way we're doing it now is the best way, because it allows me to basically get the most out of the time I'm playing the game. I'm not massively distracted by side conversation because we didn't have it during the show. We're not breaking up the gameplay with a break or unrelated stuff. It's just once I'm in the game, we're in the game to make progress for the day, right? That's the feedback I've gotten, especially when I'm playing hot new releases and people want to see more. That's what works. And it took us a while to get there. You know, I used to have more breaks and interruptions and things, and people just kept giving me feedback. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. Improve. So I've improved over the years. I hear ya. Maybe some people just feel it's too samey, but it's working, right? So I think we should stick with that, unless, again, someone has a counter to it and say, no, I don't think this is working. You know. Okay. Let's do one more suggestion, and then we'll get to shout-outs, okay? So let's see here. Okay, ginormous thing, and this is in regards to when Kat and I did our co-op gameplay like a month ago, right, in Like a Dragon. So keep in mind, if you didn't see that gameplay, you might not even understand where this person's coming from, but let's read what they have to say, and then I'll see, you know, what I want to say in response. Okay, my suggestion is in regards to co-op gameplay with Kat recently. I want you to be open to change rather than rejecting this outright. I don't just reject things outright, I listen. And if it's something that's ridiculous or over the top demanding, then I'll reject it. But some of these suggestions have been quite good. So I don't want you to feel like I'm just going to reject it just because, you know, it's not something that I'm doing. By the way, I'm going to open the window again because now the landscapers are gone. Okay. So what's hilarious about this is I'm just going to read it and I'm going to respond, but people, all right, I'm just going to read it. Your streams with Kat are meant to be a co-op experience where you two are having fun together. Having Kat play the game while you watch chat is not fun, not for you two, and certainly not for anyone watching. We want you two to laugh and talk and enjoy being together rather than Kat grinding through a game mode she's already beaten and you're screening what questions are asked. You should both be active in playing and talking. Kat should not be turned away from the mic. You should not be fielding the questions, especially for her. The interest in these streams is Kat and what she brings that is different from a normal stream. If she's going to play the game and focus on progress, there's no use in her being there. If she's going to say nothing or be in a bad mood, there's no use in her being there. I understand you want her to be actively interested in playing the game, but she shouldn't be so interested in it. She's not participating in the social part of the stream. My suggestion is to change your mindset about what a co-op stream with her should look like. Instead of looking for a game that you're both super interested in, look for something that is light and fun to play that will spur conversation between you two and should not require a lot of concentration. Ideally, you should find something that is two-player, but something that you can switch back and forth playing, but also acceptable if you can keep the conversation going while playing, because there's something like Animal Crossing or Harvest Moon that would be great. The game shouldn't be forced to carry the weight of entertaining the stream. That is what you and Kat are there to do. Okay, so let's unpack this as quickly as we can because it's an insane amount of text. And if I really unpack it detail by detail, we'll never finish the show. Okay? When Kat and I do co-op, which we've done once now, literally, all right? The idea was that we're going to do something that she's interested in doing and playing so that it'll be fun for her to be here while also interacting with the stream audience. Okay? That was the idea. All right? Kat is my wife. She's not a paid employee. She is not a formal co-op partner. As much as you guys probably watch other streamers who they have regular co-op partners and paid employees and people who do this together, she's not a YouTube professional. Okay? She's not. She does not want to sit here reading chat, answering your questions. I want to explain that to you right now because I think some people have this weird misconception. She's not even into doing that. Like when she's trying to read it and she can't even pay attention. Like it scrolls fast and she can't even like keep up with it. All right. She's not like me. She hasn't been here in front of a laptop every single day for the last 10 years streaming, and she's not used to doing it. That's something that if she eventually was here doing co-op with me for a while and we're used to it and we get into the swing of things and she's always looking at the chat and always getting used to it, then she could do that. She literally said to me, this is how it should work. You know, you sit there so you can see the laptop and you can field the questions and I'll play the game. And then if I get bored, we'll tag out or whatever. But that was the whole point. Like, we planned it ahead of time like that to work like that because she's not comfortable being here running a stream. She's not a streamer. She's my wife. And this is where people have this weird misconception when we did the co-op. Well, you see, she wasn't having fun and she wasn't directly talking to us or answering questions. And she wasn't, she was never going to do that. She's not a streamer. Do you not get that? I mean, people, I guess not. It's like anyone who's on a stream immediately must be like a full-time streamer and knows exactly how to run the stream and do everything. No, that's not the case. I mean, even to some extent, when I used to do co-op with John Rambo, right? He wasn't really into doing the stream stuff either. It was just us kind of playing the game together. And then every once in a while, you glance over at the chat or whatever, right? But even then, it was more like us focused on playing the game together. That was the focus, not the stream aspect of the interaction, right? But people have this weird misconception that like anyone who streams is a full-time professional and should absolutely be running it in this crazy way. No. It's time for a reality smack, okay? Not everyone is a ginormous fucking streamer who does this all day, every day, and knows exactly what they're doing to the point where they can run it ultra professionally to your level of satisfaction. The fact that Cap even stepped foot on stream after 5 years being away from it is nice, right? So why do we have to go from 0 to 100? Why can't there be a short, adaptive process of getting her comfortable to be on streams, and then when she's comfortable, then we can have these levels of improvement? Don't you understand that when you say shit like this, you make it that she doesn't want to be on stream? I'm serious. Because the whole idea was, oh, she'll just be here, it'll be casual, it's not ultra serious, she knows more about the game so she can play the game, and I'll do commentary and we'll add our ideas of what we want to do with the island together. I'll run the stream so we can talk to the audience and stuff like that. It's casual. It's not supposed to be ultra serious. But immediately you start holding those co-op streams to such a high standard. I don't understand why it's not super perfect like this and this and this. Why is she not looking at the stream? Why is she not talking? Why is the audio not perfect? Why is that? Well, now no one wants to do it. You understand? When you immediately become so demanding of something that's just an experiment, something nice to throw out there and try, no one cares about it anymore. So the second time that we did Dondoko Island, and the game definitely was getting boring. And we knew that, right? We're like, okay, so what other ideas can we do or what else can we do? And immediately when you see just gross negative feedback, then why the fuck would we want to do co-op again? No, really, I mean it. What do you think? Like saying something like this, you just gave us 1, 2, 3, 4 plus paragraphs. And every paragraph basically says, your co-op's up, your co-op's up, your co-op's up, your co-op's up. Here's why. What would you think would inspire us to do it again? How about everyone take a step back, take a deep breath, all right? And realize something. Everyone's just a human, a normal person, all right? Not everyone is some kind of a fake persona that they can put out there to always be ultra happy, to always be enjoying every moment of everything. The problem is you're used to that because you're so used to being spoon-fed fake shit from streamers and content creators. You don't understand that that's not reality, okay? When you watch us do co-op, you saw the first co-op stream went really well. We were making great progress in the game. We were having fun doing it. The second co-op stream, it got super boring, and that was relayed in the content, and we decided not to continue it because we're real. We're not fake. We're not sitting here, everything's happy. Everyone, like we're on fucking snorting pixie sticks and rainbows and fucking high on Percocets and shit. We're not like that, right? We're normal people. And you immediately, a second attempt that we try to do co-op, and things don't go as well because the game kind of got boring, immediately, here's a laundry list of things that went wrong, and how do you not understand how? Because we're not doing it as a fucking professional deal, right? This is not a paid employee who knows professionally what they're doing coming in to receive a paycheck. This is just us sitting down to do something fun together and to try to get her reintegrated into streams, all right? It's time to stop with this madness of everything must be held to this insane high standard. All right? It was nice she came by. If we find another game that we find that we want to do together that seems like it's going to be a fun co-op experience, we'll do that. And if not, we won't. People keep saying, why not play It Takes Two? Why not play? Because we're not interested. We're not fake. We're not going to do the co-op stream and pretend to like the game just to make a paycheck. That's not what we're all about. We're not going to sit here and fucking waste everyone's time being, characters on a stream. That's not the point. And the fact that you don't get that is kind of disheartening. That people, after 16 years of me making content, you still can't tell that this is really different from other content creators who are always over the top, positive about everything, sugarcoating, fucking stars and fucking rainbows and unicorns about everything. Everything's great. And that's how they get all their sponsorships. And that's how they make all their money. But we're not like that. We never have been. We're never going to be. You're going to get the real us when we do anything together. Okay? And so, if we're going to play a game, we want to find a game that we know is going to be something that we're both going to enjoy. And it's hopefully going to translate into something entertaining for you to watch as well. But it's not going to be, basically turning it into something so ultra professional and so overproduced and so ridiculous that it's fake. Literally what you just said is you want us to always be playing games where we're both doing co-op gameplay together, right? But also you want Kat to be ultra professional, be looking at the chat herself and reading questions and answering every question herself, even though she hasn't literally done a day of streaming in how many years and doesn't do that professionally and doesn't even know how to do it. She has problems even like catching up with the chat and stuff. That's why she has me do it, because I'm here every day doing it. It's like, where are you coming from with this? Right? What? His wife's going to be on stream. Well, that better be the most highly produced professional stream I've ever seen. What the fuck are you talking about? No. How about no? How about if we do another co-op stream, it'll be fun because we're going to be real people just messing around, having a good time, talking with chat. Actually, we're coming up to a point where she hasn't been on stream now in about a month. So maybe she would want to appear on a stream, and maybe it would just be like a Q&A stream because now we haven't done it in a while. So maybe now it'd be more fun to just do like a hangout session with Q&A rather than anything else, right? And I'll see if she's interested in that. But if we fucking do the stream and all people do is complain about she's not looking at the camera enough and this, that, then fuck it. We're not going to do it. It's stupid. You are being stupid when you're over asking for things that don't make fucking sense. Just be real and be understanding that it's nice to have someone new and refreshing on the stream. Stop being ultra demanding the moment they put a toe on camera because you think that everything should be overproduced and over happy. That's not life. That's the fakers out there who are sugarcoating their shit and shoveling advertisements down your throat. You're so used to it. You just think that's life. It's not fucking life. It's not real. It literally doesn't exist. You're looking at cartoon characters on a stream and you're demanding everyone else acts just like them. It doesn't happen in real life, okay? It's bullshit. I can't believe you like the bullshit, honestly. Really. I think that it's absolutely ridiculous that you think that that's something that someone should aspire to have on the stream. It's terrible, So, yeah, here's the thing. I definitely feel like we need to do stuff that's going to be fun together. We thought Dondoko Island was going to be fun together. It wasn't. It was fun at the very beginning, right? And then immediately got boring. But the truth is, that's the game mode, right? Like, I'm not even going to go back to do it. It's so boring, I'm not even going to do it in the game. I'm skipping it. There's no point in doing the game mode when it really was superfluous, right? What's hilarious is that people saying stuff in the chat. You didn't listen to a word that I said. So here we go. All right, goodbye. Literally, they just sit here and shit on me. I didn't have the chat open. I was just talking based on what was said, right? And now you got fucking idiots coming in here being toxic and shit. And I'm not paying any attention to it. And I immediately look at the chat and here comes the toxicity, right? Oh, we know that he doesn't have the chat open when he's doing this, so let's go ahead and just fucking hit him with a bunch of toxicity. By the way, it's all fucking sock accounts, too. Excuse me. Look at this. This is literally like 15 sock accounts. It's probably all the same person. More than likely, it's all the same person. Here you go. Here's another one. Here we go. Here's the other one. Okay, keep going. They're all, it's hilarious. They're all random names. No one who's recognizable who we even know from the chat because they're all new accounts. None of them even have profiles pictures, right? They're all the same fucking person. This is ridiculous. All right, I think I finally got rid of them. So anyway, here, allow me to give you my best feedback. Get a fucking life and stop sitting in my chat with 200 fucking stupid accounts there. We know it's all the same person. They're all the same account. Anyway. Okay. In a nutshell, all right? Kat and I would like to do co-op in the future, and we'd also like to do other Q&A streams as well. But it's not going to be often. It's going to be special when it happens. That way it feels special. It's not, oh, we're doing it all the time. It's samey, and now it doesn't mean anything. Okay? We were talking about maybe having her come on, you know, basically to hang out just to do Q&A. That's it. Just a Q&A stream again. Because we don't have any games right now that are co-op that we're interested in, right? You know, Helldivers maybe would have been something interesting, except it's not couch co-op, right? It's only online. There's no point. We can't do two people in the same room doing online on camera. It's not going to work. So that's not that kind of co-op we're looking for. Sadly, we did look into co-op games. Like, we were looking for a bunch of co-op games online. We looked into that Overcooked. It just looks boring. It doesn't look like a game that's going to be fun to do. We're going to get bored with it within a few stages. Like, we watched someone play it for like half an hour, and we were bored watching them play it. So imagine now us playing it and you watching it, right? So that's probably not going to work either. And again, we looked into other games, and we're just not too interested in any of the ones that seem to be the big suggestions, right? Maybe we will eventually get into one where, okay, you know, this is one that we're interested in. But right now we're not. And by the way, right now, there's no time in the schedule for it because I'm already having to take streams off this month to do other things, you know? And we're in the middle of RPG Mania where I got to get through these effing RPGs to start new games. Okay? So it's going to be something that we look more into later in the year when there's ample opportunity for it, when the schedule opens up. You know, typically in the spring, summertime, that's when schedules open up a lot because there's very few game releases and there's time for this kind of stuff. And that's definitely what we'll look to do, okay? So thank you. And I understand, but what I got to say is you have to stop being so demanding about it because you take the fun out of it when you become demanding. Like the first Q&A stream that we did was super fun because it was the first time Kat had been on stream in so long. The second Q&A stream we did, their questions weren't as good. Be honest, they were drying up or being repetitive. And then immediately a ton of negative feedback. Oh, she looked uncomfortable. Oh, she looked bored. Oh, okay. Well, guess what? When immediately you start complaining, it's not fun to do anymore. Okay? The first stream of Dondoko Island, we were both engaged and having fun, and we were getting a lot of progress, and it wasn't boring yet. We were having a good time. Second stream, again, the game turned for the worse. It got boring and grindy, and we were just having, you know, getting exhausted trying to do it. And immediately, here comes the negativity again. Oh my God, so boring. Why isn't she looking at chat? Why don't you shut the fuck up? Really? None of that helps. All that does is makes people uncomfortable. All right? If you want to be understanding that if she's going to be on a stream, she's not a full-time streamer, there's going to be some uncomfortable moments. There's going to be some boring parts, right? If you could just shut your mouth for 5 seconds and try to enjoy just the fact that someone else wants to be in the content, then maybe they'd be more inclined to be back. But the moment you start complaining about everything because you think that you're so entitled to such the perfect level of content at all moments is when things go south. Do you understand that? Really? I just don't... it does drive me nuts. It does. Because, you know, I see both sides of it. I see the public side of what you guys are saying, and I'm behind the scenes here with Kat, and I see how she reacts to this stuff, and it's just like, why can't people just be, like, happy that there's content in general? Oh, I'm happy to see that Phil's wife wants to be on stream with him and hang out with him and have a good time with him and be a part of that. As opposed to, oh, Phil's wife's on stream. It's time to now micro-analyze every second of the stream and tell them everything they're doing wrong from beginning to end. What? How did we get that jump? You know, I just don't understand. You know, she's coming back to streams for the first time in 5 years. Man, she better be absolutely prepared to be an ultra professional on that stream every second. What the fuck is wrong with you? That is how you turn people off from wanting to do stuff. You understand? But I guess not. Because that seems to be the general attitude on YouTube. In general, just on YouTube in general. For example, when I started on YouTube back in the day, All right. And I would upload my crappy camera content that looked and sounded awful, but people found it funny. No exaggeration. When you watch the content back and you looked at the comments, it would be like, wow, this is excellent. Some free content. Someone's playing the game and I get to see if it's any good. Wow, the commentary is pretty funny. The gameplay is not great, but that's not what we're here for. We're happy just to have free content and to enjoy it. Now what's happened is YouTube's been around for 15 years and it's oversaturated with content. So now it's like the moment someone uploads content, it must be of the absolute utmost, utterly polished, best at all moments content, because if not, it's trash. No. No. That's not reality. That's not life. That's not how it works. Okay? Really. It's not. Why do people expect all of this? This is wild. You drive me nuts with this shit. You do. And the fun part is, I know for a fact that that's not everybody, right? There were some people who were just so happy to see Kat come on a stream after 5 years away. So, well, this is nice just to have someone else on the stream with Phil, and it's someone who he loves, his significant other. You know, they were just happy, and I'm grateful for that. We are grateful for that. For those who just wanted to see her and see how she was doing, and just, you know, just to listen to her talk and just hang out and do something a little different. You know what I mean? That's nice, and I'm grateful for those people. But for those who just want to be ultra demanding about every fucking part of everything that we do, that's ridiculous. And you know, it's never going to be like that. Just to be straight with you, no, we're probably never going to get to a level where she's going to come on stream and it's going to be like ultimate production value. She's super comfortable looking at the chat. How? She'd have to be here every day just like me to get to this level. Not everyone can even just look at the camera and talk naturally. You know what I mean? So it's time to wake up. Either you have her in content or you don't, but the moment that you get over demanding is the moment that she doesn't want to do it because it's too much of a hassle. It's too frustrating. If so many people are upset at it, then why do it, right? Just chill the fuck out. I mean, that's really the best advice right now. Just chill the fuck out. Stop being so high-strung and uptight and demanding of everything in life. Just chill the fuck out. And everything will be better. I promise you. As I've gotten older now, and I've learned to lean back and more relaxed and say, you know what? You can't control everything. Not everything's perfect. Just chill out a bit. Life is better in that way, man. But when you're just uptight about everything, it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. For a second, just sit back and relax and stop being so demanding and so ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, we did a lot of suggestion box today, huh? So in conclusion with that, like I said, probably the next time Kat appears on stream will likely be like a Q&A night. We're going to try to find a time to do it. We can't do it right now because already I'm trying to get through games and we're backlogged on these RPGs, and I've had to take multiple streams off this month, and I need to take another one off next week. You know, it's not the time for it right now. But when she comes back, definitely it'll be more relaxing with probably Q&A, and eventually we would like to find other games to play. We've looked into some. Sadly, we just didn't see any good ones that we were too interested in. You know, so we'll get to this stuff. Okay, we will eventually. All right, we got to do shout outs now because now the show has run late. Because this is why people say, why don't you do suggestion box? Literally every time we've done suggestion box, the show runs late. Every single time. So that's why I don't do it all the time. Okay. So our first super chat of the day is from Ash Run, who did a $10 super chat. Says, what's your opinion on Rooster Teeth shutting down as one of the original content creators in video gaming industry? You're late. I did a whole segment about this earlier this week. So go back to the earlier podcast from this week. It was either earlier this week or late last week when it was announced. And I have a whole segment on it on the show. I don't want to retread that ground because we're already behind today. So go check that out. And you should enjoy my take on it, I think. I hope. I tried to give my perspective. I'm not a huge fan of Rooster Teeth or anything. I just kind of know of their existence. So, okay. I received a $10 tip. Okay, it's an anonymous tip. I was trying to find a name in there because it's a big message. I was like, is there a name in there? There isn't. It's a $10 anonymous tip. Okay. So, Phil, I think one possible reason why you've been getting more support on your podcast is because when people support and bring up topics or ask questions, they can get a more detailed response rather than during gameplay. You tend to keep the responses much shorter and try not to distract from the game, which makes sense. But at the end of the day, people don't usually watch streamers because of them playing a game. They tune in because it's them playing a game. Give us some thought. Love the content either way. And, you know, this is exactly what I've been saying. It seems to me, now that I'm in my 40s, we're going in a direction where, yes, gameplay will always be an integral part of my content. And as soon as we play various games or whatever, right, it's going to get more exciting or less exciting, right? But essentially, what's going to happen is people are going to care more about me talking and interacting and having opinions and thoughts than me just playing a video game. And I know that. Like, I already know that's where we're going. I've already talked about this. This is why the podcast, in some cases, does better than the gameplay during certain days. This is why people are asking me for shows on other topics. Can I do better, longer reacts on this topic? Can I, eventually branch out into other shows? Yes. Yes. But not immediately. It's going to be a slow transition, right? I feel like that's the best way to go about it. Not just drop everything and be like, well, because we just had RPG stagnation for 2 months, just drop all the games entirely and we'll just do talk shows all day. Now, we're not going to do that. But we definitely should look to adopting more of what people are liking. And right now, the talking style is definitely what people are liking more. Case in point, right? Just a few weeks ago, we had a random night stream that was open. This was before we were in RPG Mania and trying to push. And I said, it's just, what should we do? And everyone said, just do a night chill stream. I did, and it was super interactive, super engaged, tons of support. That's what people wanted. People just want to hang out with me a lot. It's not always about the games anymore, right? Cool. All right. I received a $2 tip from Nico. It says, unpopular opinion, I miss linear games that were around 10 hours long and had a proper focus and better pacing. Nowadays, all these games are 100 plus hours with a million side quests and terrible pacing, and nothing happens for hours. Sadly, getting older and having more, etc., means that I just can't play these games. That's why I find myself going back to the 360 era more. We need more games like the recent Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out a few years ago, a game that you can play 1 to 2 hours per day and finish it in a reasonable time period. I think you're right, and I think game developers, sadly, have jumped on these. This is what happens is they seriously end up going into like these fads, right? And then they just can't get out of them. So whether it's the looter shooter online co-op fad, whether it's the battle royale fad, whether it's the games as a service fad, it's just a fad. And they're always behind the ball too. Like they see one game that becomes popular and then they all have to copy it. So what is the game that everyone copies? Witcher 3. Literally, Witcher 3 was the game that put a giant open world, insane amount of content, meaningful content, but like all for the same price as the regular game. They're the ones that were the first. And then every fucking company says, we got to be like Witcher 3, right? We got to have the open world. We got to have the million pieces of content. We got to have this and that. And then no one has stopped. It's just been like 7 years, 8 years of everyone be like Witcher 3. Well, guess what? We've played Witcher 3 and your 1,000 knockoffs, but now maybe it's time to do something different. Maybe it's time to innovate. Maybe it's time to do something more streamlined that's just better than doing an open world, right? It's hilarious that they all are still copying Witcher. They are. That was the innovator. That was the one. From now on, everyone's just got to be like Witcher 3, right? If it's not as good as Witcher 3. Okay. Okay, I received several tips. So first, I received a $9 tip. From 1 Minute Man. A $9 tip, okay? He's doing weird tip amounts now. I don't know what he's doing this for. Now I gotta do math. Okay, he says, good progress yesterday. You make it difficult to provide non-spoilers when you start a new quest before finishing current ones. A couple things puzzled me. Why didn't you give the voodoo doll a couple of whacks? That's all you needed to do. Because the voodoo dolls hurt their subject matter. A voodoo doll is tied to someone. So if you hit a voodoo doll, you're going to hurt someone. That's how voodoo dolls work, right? If you impale a voodoo doll with a needle, you hurt whoever that voodoo doll is tied to. So I didn't want her. I mean, maybe it was what's her name, whatever her name is, who got turned into the sheep, Mayrina or whatever her name is. So I didn't want her to get hurt. Why did you waste the scroll of fly in the vault room instead of putting it to good use during combat? I already have fly spells. I don't need to care about using those during combat. But obviously, I wanted to get the loot. Good luck with Aunt Ethel. She's in hiding, but you'll find her. Oh, I'm sure. I think it said that she was in the same building, actually. I think maybe you have to go to, like, the basement, or maybe she's impersonating somebody else. Okay. So now, 1 Minute Man tipped me $8. You see what I mean? Like, he broke his tips up into all these messages now. Now we have an $8 tip. And he says, lack of mobility still seems to frustrate you after 100 hours in. At least have a companion in your party who casts Long Strider on all of you. With greater mobility, you could have saved Cash Guard Loretta in the Counting House combat. Also, the newspaper quest doesn't trigger in the journalist if the journalist was being impersonated by Orin. Oh, was the journalist being impersonated by Orin? Now I don't even know. Also, there is a couple of quests coming that will require disguises, so stealth if you want to, disguises and stealth if you want to try to rescue some innocents. I can't speak today. I don't know. I'm tripping over my own words. Okay. All right. And we have another one. We have a $7 tip. I'm going to give you guys a wild guess who this could be from. Right? Okay. So our third pop-up. Thank you, 1 Minute Man, for all of your tip support this morning. I appreciate that. Okay, cool. It's from Duty? Oh, it's from Duty Streams. Oh, okay. Thank you, Duty Streams, for throwing your shit over here on mine. Actually, no. Stay the fuck out. Okay, so 1 Minute Man did a $7 tip, and he says, it's a good thing you finally discovered the alchemy menu and had the ingredients to make Hagsbane. You know, I think I found it early in the playthrough and just never remembered I had it ever again. You can make a lot of potions and elixirs there. You could need the potion of glorious vaulting. It will increase your jumping distance. You could have avoided frustration when your enemies turn invisible with the See Invisibility spell. I totally forgot that existed. There's a See Invisibility spell. There's also See Invisibility scroll. I forgot it even existed. You're right. Again, that's a symptom of the game has so much to it. It's so overly complex that 9 times out of 10, there's a solution, but I've forgotten what it is because there's too many things in the game, right? The game is the opposite of simple. It's literally complex for the sake of being so complex. And for someone like me who's never done this kind of game before, never played D&D before, 9 times out of 10, those things, those nuanced answers are going to slip through my fingers. Okay? Oh, right. He says, if you had accepted Volo's offer to remove the parasite in Act 1, maybe in the second run. Yeah, I guess. So now I guess we can spoil, because people spoiled it so much during the playthrough. I don't know why they did this. People kept saying that if in Act 1, Volo offers to remove your eye, well, remove the parasite from your head, and basically what happens is if you say, go ahead and do it, he stabs your eye and basically destroys your eyeball, okay? But then he ends up replacing it with a magic eye. It's the same magic eye that Will has in his head, and basically that eye ends up allowing you to see more things than normal. So you can see, like, invisible enemies and other shit. And that would have obviously helped in the playthrough. But logically, do you think you're going to let this jackass stab you in the eye? Does it sound like he knows what he's doing to remove these parasites? No, of course not. So I didn't let him do that. Excuse me. It's one of those situations where, like, it's a neat thing, but obviously a logical person would never let this jackass rip their eyeball out. So you have to know that there's going to be a positive benefit from it to do it. Unless you just are a crazy chaos follower and like, yeah, fuck it. Let him rip my arms off and shove them up my asshole and see if it cures this. And hey, maybe I'll get a fourth leg out of this or something, How would you know that? Obviously, you're not going to know that unless someone's already done it, right? Excuse me. Okay. Continuing on. I received a $10 tip. It's an anonymous tip, so hold on. Okay. You mentioned one of the flaws of Baldur's Gate 3 is that you have to study and research to get good at the game. I saw your Tekken 8 review video. You said you had to do tons of studying and research to get good. Why is it a flaw for Baldur's Gate 3 and not Tekken? This tip is for the playthrough, not the podcast. Hashtag playthroughs matter. There you go. Well, there's a very simple answer to that. It's what I've said many years. I started talking about this way back when with Dark Souls 1, when everyone said, oh, Dark Souls isn't a bad game. You just have to put time and effort into learning its systems, which entails work of like getting the strategy guide, studying a wiki online or whatever. Here's the difference. It's very simple, okay? Competition. Whenever you're trying to be competitive at something in life, you do have to put time, effort, research, training into it. That's the point of competition, is that the time and effort you sink into it then comes out in your competitive play, and then you can excel, right? I'm not in any competition to make the best playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3 ever. I'm not. It's a single-player game. You understand? It's not, oh, I need to study and compete against real people across the planet to get a win streak. And I'm not going to get a ranking at the end of my Baldur's Gate 3 run. You see? It's meant to be a narrative single-player experience. So the way I see it, if it's a narrative single-player experience, you should be able to sit back, relax, pick up your controller, and say, today I'm going to immerse myself in this cool RPG world. Here we go. Not, you boot the game up, and immediately you're hit with 700 nuanced things about the game engine that you can't remember, and now you're fucked in combat, or you screwed up a quest, someone's dead now. You're like, well, I didn't realize that was going to happen. I don't, I've never done this before. It's daunting. It really is a daunting thing playing Baldur's Gate 3 when you've never played this kind of game before. But that's the thing. Like, everyone has different feelings. If I'm going to get stressed out playing a game, I want it to be because it's a competitive game and it's meant to be like that. Now, I'm stressed out playing a single-player game that should be a more, like, laid-back experience. But again, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Some people so love an experience that's so complex and has its own unique rule set, its own unique world, its own unique criteria, layer upon layer upon layer. Some people like a one-sheet cake, and some people like a 12-layer cake. To each their own. There's nothing wrong with either one. They both taste delicious, right? But for me, when I'm playing a single-player experience, I prefer to not have to go so crazy learning, memorizing, putting massive effort into playing it. If I'm going to do the competitive game, and like Street Fighter or even an online shooter, then at least, it's because you're beating other people who are also competing against you for the win or for the ranking points or for whatever it is. There's a limited reward pool to go out there for the effort you're putting into the game. That's my difference between the two. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, man. Okay, I think we have covered everything here. I think we have covered everything. We got the one. Thank you, Ashrun, for the one super chat today. That's all we got on the YouTube side of stuff. Guys, case in point, because people say, I don't understand. Phil does these Baldur's Gate streams, and he always gets a lot of tips. So doesn't that mean everything's going well? The reason that I'm really hurting right now is the YouTube side of stuff. I'm getting little to no new memberships. I'm getting little gifted memberships, and a lot of people who used to renew their membership stopped because they think, oh, I'm just going to get a free one, which actually isn't happening anymore, but they think they're going to get it now because they've been conditioned to think that because they had 2 months of free memberships. So this is the problem. Like, I used to have this consistent YouTube side support along with tips. Now it's like I'm just getting tips. The YouTube support is literally on a downward slope like this, and there's not much I can do about that. I can't make people contribute via that way. It sucks. But that's what I mean, because people are not understanding. They're like, I don't get it. Every day I look at your tips goal, you're doing good and stuff. It's like, yeah, but was one aspect of what I was doing. And that was great. It's great when I get a bunch of tips. It helps. But the whole YouTube support thing is almost going away. And that sucks. And I don't know how to fix that because I'm not the one that caused it to dip. It was troll activity. We were actually really good with that. And then all of a sudden it just gets taken away. And it's like, so that's what I mean when I say stuff like, oh, stuff is tight, it's not good right now. That's what I mean. It's the YouTube side stuff has basically gone away, and I don't know what to do to get it back because I'm doing the same stuff. You guys are telling me you like what I'm doing. I'm working my butt off, and I am going to be playing a variety of games. The one feedback I'm getting, Get rid of all these RPGs. That's exactly what I'm doing. We're going to have variety sooner rather than later. Okay. All right, so yes, I've shouted out everything. The one super chat's been shouted out, and thank you to everyone who's tipped so far. I really do appreciate that. Okay. Oh, my nose itches. Ah. All right, well, that's that. And the podcast already ran late, so sadly, we don't even really have time for much else. Darziak says, Sea of Stars is getting co-op. Would Cap be interested in that? I don't know. The co-op, I believe, is that just each person controls a character in combat. So I don't know how much fun that would really be. I guess the problem there would be, I'm like halfway into the game, right? And like to have someone jump in with co-op there, it doesn't make sense. It would be like start the game over, but I'm definitely not starting the game over. I guess we'll have to see. Anzo Kamaru says, I despise open world games, but what's the alternative to copying Witcher 3? People complain when games are linear. You do that as well. I personally love linear games. No. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with aspiring to be like a game that was great. My problem is that literally 80% of experiences of games coming out are like that now. They all literally have to copy each other instead of doing something innovative and different. All gamers want these days is innovation, and we get none of it. That was the point of the video we just watched the other day on the React show, is that it's supposed to be we're at a new console gen, but where's the new gameplay? There's zero new gameplay. Every game you play fits into this genre or trope or existing pool, and nothing is trying to be different and original anymore. Everything that says, here's your shooter, here's your RPG, here's your fucking racing game, they're all the same. It's like, just what's the new iteration with slightly better graphics or a couple new features, but they're all the same games over and over. What we want is something different, not the same game 700 times. When I started on YouTube, there was insane amounts of innovation around that PS3 360 era. Then PS4, Xbox One era, it just became turn everything into a giant sandbox, right? And now you don't even get new games that are different. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth felt refreshing at first, and then I realized, so it's linear story segments that are done well, followed by sandbox repetitive content. And that's what it seems like the whole game is going to be. That doesn't make a great game. Oh, let's see here. They're not. Han Solo says, it's confirmed Battlefront 1 and 2 are not combined. How do they not understand that is going to kill the player base for multiplayer? No one's going to know which one to play. Oh, that's terrible. It's going to be exactly the same situation as what we just saw with that Capcom collection last year, where there was like 4 versions of Darkstalkers. And everyone was like, what's the one I'm supposed to play? So you're trying to find an opponent. You can't find a fucking opponent because everyone's trying to play a different version. No, Expand Dog, we're not doing Princess Peach, and it has nothing to do with Dragon's Dogma 2 or anything like that. It has to do with the fact that it's a Nintendo platformer. And I just played Super Mario Wonder, and I couldn't get people to pay attention to Super Mario Wonder, which was a Game of the Year contender. So I'm definitely not going to be playing Princess Peach. People are not going to watch it. It sucks. So I like Nintendo first-party stuff, but it doesn't do that well, sadly. Exactly. People say it's a kiddie game. Why are you playing this game? Play something else. They just complain the whole time. So I guess it's a skip for me, even though I like it. Excuse me. Okay. All right, guys. I think it's time. Let's end the show. Again, it ran long. Every time I do suggestion box, we go ultra long. I knew that was going to happen. So thank you for watching. I'm not here tomorrow. So I hope that you all have a safe day, a fun day, and perhaps get caught up on the million videos that I put out this week. Literally on every channel now, there's like videos every day, right? On the Throwback channel, there's both the Throwback playthroughs as well as the Heavy Rain Retro React. On the Reacts channel, we still got parts of DSP versus the Internet going live. On this channel, we've got all the great progress in the RPGs this week. It's just good stuff all around. And I certainly hope that you guys will join me for the fun on Friday when I come back with a full day of the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. I think it's going to be very fun, online with the chaotic stuff that you're going to see. It's a great games. And I guess we'll have to see how we're going to tackle them if they're separated. That was really boneheaded of them to do that, but whatever. All right, guys, thank you so much. And I'll see you. Now, wait a minute. You're kidding me. As I'm adjourning the show, there's something on the screen that says ads are going to run shortly. Seriously? Now, this is the first time the entire stream that's popped up for me. So did YouTube enable it again? You see what I mean? YouTube doesn't know what the hell they're doing. All right. Thank you, guys. See you Friday.